All right, so for part 3 here, we're going to open up the same image. You can see that Peaches image.jpg has been opened. This is the original image that we started out with for each of these different parts. This time again, we want to file, save as, and I'm going to do my last name, Peaches 3. What this does is this lets me, again, whoop, I have it saved as a JPEG. I forgot to change one setting. I'm going to hit cancel, or whatever it lets me do. I want to make sure that I save this as a Photoshop document. So I'm going to go File. There we go. Save as. Make sure I choose Photoshop here, very top one. And then I'm going to say Miller Peaches 3. Save. Now, this whole unit in Photoshop is called the Art History tool, and we've done a couple things, practicing some different skills. Number one, getting the history through the selection tool using the magnetic lasso. That lets us select an object and then erase. We had 2 layers, and we cleaned out a handful of those peaches to make it look like they were painted, or black and white, everything except for those specific peaches. We did a text cutout using the text tool, and then clicking here, adding some changes, doing a copy paste, and adding a stroke to the background. This is a quick lesson on just using the Art History tool. And what that means is that it's going to, whatever changes you've made to a document, it is going to bring it back to the original look of that document. So I could do all sorts of changes, and when I use the Art History tool, it's going to bring everything back to the original setting. You can do that with some filters. You could modify it using colors. You could modify levels and settings that way. You could draw on top of it, and then this tool will bring it back to the original setting, which is really slick. So what we're going to do with this one again is we're going to use the black and white version of this. So we're going to come up here to Layer, not Layer, Image, Adjustments, and then Black and White. What this will let us do is change this document to a black and white image, and then over here on the side you'll see a little rubber stamp. Underneath the rubber stamp is a tool, and it has an arrow that points backwards. That is the History Brush tool, and when I click on that one, it's going to have a selection. I have my paintbrush settings up here in the top. I'll zoom up there really quick. So I can change my paintbrush settings. I can change the mode, the opacity. I can do whatever I need to do on here as far as the settings go. But today we're just going to focus mainly on this tool, the History tool, and a brush size. And it does not matter what size brush. You'll have to change this a couple times. But the one setting that I would make sure you have is a hardness at 100%, down to that 55, 60%. And you'll see why here in just a second. I'm going to put mine at a 75. I'm going to zoom back out. And using the Option key, I'm going to roll in. My computer catch up a little bit. There we go. And this tool, because it's the History tool, and I've changed this black and white, as soon as I start coloring, it's going to bring back the original color that was in this this image. And you'll say, well, that's just like we did with the magnetic lasso. And it is, except for this time I don't have to use multiple layers. I don't have 2 layers there, and I don't have to trace the outside. I can use this tool. I can zoom right in there, and I can go right along the edge of an image like that, and it's going to bring back the original color of that image. If I happen to go on the outside, you can see that it's going to bring back the color of everything else. And so I'm going to hit undo, Command Z to undo this, and then you'll see that it's pulling back the original picture. So the reason why we're using the art history tool is because we don't have to make another layer and cut things out. This does not destroy an image or create multiple parts. But one suggestion I do have is that you use the magnetic lasso tool again, because that'll be a lot easier. And if you select around, let me quickly go around this one. Oops, I missed some spots there. That was a horrible lasso grab. And I could use my modification there if I wanted to catch it back up. But this tool and the art history tool, now I can just swipe across there and it doesn't matter. I could even make my brush super huge. Well, that's not really big, but big enough for this project. And now it's going to only return the history of the part that I've selected. So you can see right here on the outside where I did not select this peach, that it has not been selected, and spots that I've gone over have also gone over. So one of the questions I've received is that it's hard to see the tool here that I'm using. If you press the caps lock key, it's going to change into a crosshair, and it does not show the outline of this tool, but it does let me see exactly where I'm going. So I could draw along here, because sometimes when you're doing the magnetic lasso and you're clicking, sometimes it's hard to see, and in this case it doesn't do the crosshairs, it does the a circle like a target. I'm going to click through here to make sure I'm adding these things back, and there's that selection. I'm going to use the art history tool, kind of clean this up a little bit. You can see it a little bit better. It helps some people, it doesn't help others. So if you have noticed that this crosshair does not look like the tools that I'm using, you can check the caps lock key and see if that might be the difference between your tool and the other one. So to turn off the selection, we use Command D. That'll deselect. And you can see that I made some mistakes around here. I don't want to use the eraser. But if you do happen to go on the outside here, you'll want to undo those errors because it's kind of hard to get rid of this right here if this is the original. So if I click, it just turns color. So if you do happen to go on the outside, you might want to modify your selection before clearing. Let me show you how to do that up here on a different peach. Let's do this one right here. So if I use my magnetic lasso and press the caps lock key, I'm going to zoom in on this one. And if it has problems sticking to the border, the slower you go and the closer to the line that you are, the better the grab is going to be. If you click, it's going to create an anchor point that you can modify here. But I noticed that as I'm going, whoop, see right there, not a good one. If it had created a point there, I can press the delete key and it's going to delete the previous, every time I press delete, it'll delete the previous anchor point. So when I come down here, you'll see that I think this is the part that it jumps around a little bit. Nope, I did a pretty good job that time. So I'm going to continue to go around. Whoop. Let's come back here, back to the border. So if I had done something like this, and when I get back to the original, you'll see that it has a little circle next to the tool, and that means that I'm closing that loop. And unfortunately, on here, I have a jump where it jumped over and got some different colors there. I can always use the regular lasso tool and the subtract feature. And basically when you do that, you have to hold the mouse down the whole time, and then you just circle whatever you're working on and let go, and it'll subtract it. You see right here I missed a spot, so I have to use the add to. In this case, I'm just going to click, and I want to add this part, so I'm going to go inside the shape, and it adds that that way. Now I can do my art history tool, come in here really quick, and bring this back to the original look. And just like that, I have a peach. Command D to deselect, zoom back out, and I have a peach that has been recolored. So one of the, let me zoom in here on this one right there. One of the other things I'd like you to do with this one is use the hand that is located in the assignment. Use my magnetic lasso. I'll show you how to do that one here right now. I come down about halfway. Click across here. I'll show you why I'm doing this. Just a second. Whoop. There we go. And then if I use the art history tool and color this one in, see it does this. Command D. And one of the other options we have on the assignment is this image of a hand with a paintbrush. See, it's loading slowly. And if we save this image, we save the image to our multimedia folder. I think it just has that in there. There it is. I'm going to do paint brush. There it is. And then inside of Finder with Photoshop open, you can see I have my recents. There's the paintbrush, and if I drag it in here, it should drop that right on top of the background layer. When I press return, enter, it's going to lock that in there. You'll see that it has a transparent background, so you can't really move it around, or you can't see any of the background behind it. And so now that I have this in there, I'm going to go find that peach I just recolored. Let me zoom back out again. Oh, there it is, down below the hand. So if I drag this down here, it'll make it look like the peach is getting painted by the paintbrush, which is a cool effect. If I zoom out a little bit more, you'll see that the hand kind of floats here, which means that I need to resize it. To resize it, you grab a corner, and it's going to stay proportionate, so it's not going to get too distorted. Kind of move it to where it needs to go. And then change it again so the cutoff arm isn't just floating in the air. Then it looks like somebody's reaching in there and painting this image. Once it's resized, I press enter, and now it's a shape. I have the move tool that I've had on there. If I want to see it without the background or without the border around it, I can just click on the background, and you'll see that this shows up as a hand painting that image. And you can continue, because I'm on the background now, I can continue selecting different peaches. Very quickly go around this one, click on the art history brush, and clean up a whole bunch. So it looks like the hand has been painting all these original colors on the image. So once you get all done with this, we're going to go File and Save to make sure that this Photoshop document has been saved. And then finally, we're going to save as, just like always. I'm going to save it as a JPEG file, because that will be the one that we turn in for this assignment. And then just like the first part, I want you to have 2 peaches in each box. And when you turn it in, you should have the hand on it. If you have any questions as you go through this project, please let me know.